So I have this super cheap off-brand tape measure that stopped working. I was in my backyard trying to measure out a garden space, and my tape here would not retract back into it. So I decided to take it apart, and in the process of taking it apart, I found a broken piece of plastic. So hopefully I can put it back together without this little piece. We'll figure it out. If not, like I said, it was a cheap tape measure. I can always replace it, but I'm gonna try this out. So I got this also popped out. I got my tensioner coil wound back up in there for now. Now I just need to figure out if I'm going the right direction here. I need to get this part here back onto here and then wind it up and then wrap my tape back on. So I'm gonna mess around with a little bit and hopefully I figure it out. Alright, so here's my tensioner coil here. I'm holding it with the pliers so it doesn't come unwound on me, but this end here is what attaches to your measuring tape. Sorry, my camera's a little out of focus there, but so basically I need to figure out a way to get that end through the opening in the spool there so that I can then wind this tape here around the outside of the spool. So the tensioner coil goes in the inside and the tape goes on the outside there. So I'm going to grab a couple clamps and hold this in place while I figure this out. So I'm using this little clamp to hold my coil in place now that I have it wound, so I can feed this end through the hole in the spool and then try to fit it back into the center here. Well, I let go of the spring, so it came unwound again. This is what it looks like here. So now I gotta start from square one. Basically you just start from the center here. You can see where it attaches to the spool here, or the post inside. Where'd it go? This is going to fit into this notch here. So we're just going to start from the center again, grab a pair of pliers or clamps or whatever you have, and just start spinning it around, and I'll be right back. One thing I'm going to note while you are winding this up, I would suggest either going very slowly or using gloves, because the edge of this is razor sharp and there's a strong possibility that you can slice your finger. Almost did. Came pretty darn close. Was lucky enough just to nick the surface of my skin, but yeah, that is razor sharp on the edges there. So gloves or just go very slowly. Alright, so I've got her wound back up in the spool. I've got this end pulled out here. When I put this back in, you want to pay attention to where your tape is going to come out. This is the bottom of your tape measure right here. This is the end where it's going to come out at. So when I put this in the spool, I want the coil to be facing that same direction where you'd be pulling the tape out. Alright, what I'm doing now is I'm tightening this coil. You want this coil to be as tight as possible before you attach your tape here, because the goal is that when you pull the tape out, it's going to tighten the spring, so then it'll have that tension to pull the tape back into the tape measure here, back into the casing. So I'm just carefully spinning this around, using my clamp to hold this end kind of from, if I take this clamp off, my end that I have sticking out here keeps getting in the way, so I've got this tucked around and clamped out of the way at the moment. And I'm just going to keep spinning. Keep your hand or something over top of the center here, because it's going to try to pop out. So just keep working around. And yeah, I honestly have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just kind of figuring this out as I go. So hopefully this works out. We'll see. You can see how that's getting more compact in there. See that? Alright, so I've been winding for about a minute. I've got that coiled in pretty nice in there. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to attach my tape onto this piece here. So This right here is what's used to attach the measuring tape onto your spool. Let me find the end of this thing. This part here. So it's just going to, let's see, let's figure this out. So it's going to come out this way. So you want to attach it on through the top and then just twist it around. Now that I'm looking at this, if this were to try to wind up in there, that's going to get jammed up in there. So let's try it this way. Let's go in from the bottom of it. There we go. That way when it winds up, this is going to be safely tucked against the spool and not loose in there. Okay. Alright, here's what I'm going to try. Since I've got this coil wound up pretty tight and my tape is completely out, which is exactly how it would be if this was all closed in, I'm just going to kind of start feeding this and let the spool I'm going to let this kind of pull itself around the spool here. Just like that. Just kind of feed it, let it spin while you're feeding it. Hold it in place though there. And this is what it would be doing inside of the casing if you had it all put together. So I'm just going to feed this through here. Alright, so I've got my tape completely wound back around the spool, and there isn't a whole lot of tension right now. The spring is not tight enough. Ah, shoot. So what I'm going to do is just tighten up the spring inside a little bit more until I get my tension. So to do that, let's see how to put this the best way. So if the tape's coming out this end, this is the direction that is supposed to be tightening the coil. So see how it's spinning in that direction? So what we're going to do is we're going to take this whole thing, instead of pulling on it, we're going to wrap this around, and we're just going to continue spinning this whole spool in that same direction to tighten up that spring. Alright, before I put everything back together, I'm going to check the tension. I'm going to pull this out a little bit and just kind of let it release. See that? Pull it out, let it release. Alright, tension seems to be pretty good. Now we just need to put the casing back together. So I'm going to put this little washer over top of the coil there and figure out how this piece sits in here. I think that plastic piece that I found was part of this casing that this rides on, so we'll see. I really don't care if this locks in place or not as long as it retracts like it's supposed to. So alright, let's try to put this in without everything popping out. That's the tricky part. Alright, put the tape in the right position. This should snap closed. Oh, check it out. Alright. Alright, so my locking button still works. Pull it out, retracts. Oh my goodness. I'm so proud of myself. Alright, now I just need to screw it back together. I'm trying to lose stuff here. This is pretty simple. Right. And there it is. So I got that screwed back in, and my button still works. So that piece of plastic wasn't too important to the mechanics of it at the moment. We'll see. But yeah, works. Alright. And there it is. That's how you fix a tape measure. Did you find this video helpful? Leave a comment down below and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks. Have a fantabulous day.